Good morning and welcome. This is video number 372, and in this video lecture today I am going to discuss the main characteristics of developing countries or less developed countries. Development economists have classified major properties of less developed countries as follows. The most important characteristic of less developed countries is that there is low per capita income and there is widespread poverty in these countries. Secondly, there is shortage of capital. Then there is a high growth of population and a high level of dependency. There is massive unemployment in these countries, and the predominant sector of the economy is agriculture. There is either little investment, but whatever is invested, that is unproductive, and there is low levels of productivity, and there are some other characteristics of less developed countries. So let us begin with the low per capita income and widespread poverty. As you know, per capita income is the main indicator of economic backwardness. Per capita GNP of developing countries is very low. That is why most people in such countries live under severe hardships and poverty. They do not get sufficient food to eat, adequate medical care, and minimum educational opportunities. About 40 to 50% of the people in such countries live below the poverty line. In terms of per capita income and living standards, not only the gap between the developed and underdeveloped countries is large, but the gap is ever widening. The second characteristic of developing countries is that of shortage of capital. In LDCs like Pakistan and India, there is shortage of capital of all varieties. There is shortage of not only private capital like structure, factories, steel mills, etc., but also shortage of social overhead capital that includes roads, highways, railroads, hospitals, schools, etc. The third characteristic of less developed countries is that of high population growth rate, which we may call population explosion. High rate of growth of population is another main characteristic of less developed countries. The population bump has exploded in most such countries, as has been predicted by Thams Malthus in 1798. This is due to a twofold reason. Number one, a sudden fall in the death rates due to better medical facilities, and secondly, almost unchanged or constant birth rates. As a result, population has virtually exploded and the dependency ratio has increased. Population in these countries is increasing annually at the rate of almost 2%. These laborers are unproductive in the sense that they depend on productive laborers. In fact, due to lack of adequate employment opportunities, the dependency burden is very high in less developed countries. Another problem or characteristic of less developed countries is that of massive unemployment. So, another important characteristic of less developed countries is the existence of a considerable amount of unemployment, underemployment, and disguised unemployment. Traditional agriculture sector cannot cope with the rising population. As a result, the magnitude of disguised unemployment is mounting in these countries. Finding no alternative employment opportunities, rural people flock to the urban areas in order to survive, and the problems of urban areas are also worsening day by day. But the rate of industrial growth is not encouraging to absorb rural masses. In addition, a large number of educated youth do not find employment in these countries. This in turn leads to other social issues like robbery, kidnapping, killings, and insecurity in those countries. We have predominance of agriculture in these countries. An underdeveloped economy is one which is predominantly an agrarian economy. Predominance of agriculture is viewed from two angles. First is the contribution of this sector towards national income. On the other hand, in developed countries, agriculture occupies a secondary position since 2% to 8% of national income comes from this sector. Secondly, LDCs mainly depend upon agriculture sector and extractive industries like mining, fisheries, and forest which means that the bulk of the population is engaged in agriculture and allied pursuit. In advanced countries, agriculture provides employment to a small fraction of the people, that is 2 to 5%. All these explain the predominance of agriculture in less developed countries. There is unproductive investment in LDCs, and it is a fact that due to massive poverty, people have very little power to save in these countries. These countries are not capable of saving of more than 15% of GDP as compared to more than 35% of GDP saved by people of developed countries. The small amount which is saved in LDCs is not investment properly. So some of it is used in hoarding, black marketing, and are in cash and gold ornaments. A large part is used to buy unproductive assets like gold and jewelry. This sort of unproductive investment cannot promote economic growth. Low levels of productivity is another characteristic of LDCs. The productivity of land is very low for various reasons. These reasons may be institutional, technological, and natural. Productivity of labor is also low for various reasons. Most workers are poor and do not get either sufficient food or adequate medical care, so they cannot work hard. They are most illiterate, unskilled, and lack technical training. There are some other characteristics of LDCs: inadequate technology and capital. There are low saving rates, so investment rate is low. Economy is of a dual nature. There are two sectors. One is rural sector, one is urban sector. One is predominantly agriculture and the other one is industrial, so modern economy and traditional economy. Varying dependence on international trade. Most of the countries depend on imports, and they have little exports, so their balance of payment and balance of trades are in deficit almost all the time. There is low literacy and school enrollment rates in most of the LDCs, and the labor force is either unskilled or semi-skilled, and there are poorly developed economic and political institutions in these countries. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a brief review of the characteristics of less developed countries. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, kindly do subscribe the channel and do not forget to click on the bell icon so that you can get my new videos that will be uploaded for you in due course of time.